think the key word there is love. And especially when we're talking about working from home, home is where the heart is, as they say. So, how much love do you have in your home? And I've been blessed to work from home full time for 10 years. It was March 1st, actually, was my 10-year anniversary since I quit my job to be a full-time entrepreneur and work from home. I've had the privilege of working in some co-working spaces and having little satellite offices I go into here or there. And I do a lot of on-sites with clients. And so I get to travel, I get to do this. But at the end of the day, I love my family. I love being at home. I love being near them. I love being a father. I love being there when the kids get home off the bus. I love, being a part of that environment. But it's not always ideal, right? It's not always optimal to be able to have that. See, most people don't realize how much we use environments to hack our behavior. So kind of like Michelle was saying, she was stuck inside her own head and stuck inside her own body. And as such, she had to learn to work with what she had. It's a wonderful blessing to be able to go outside our home and to change our environment. And this is one of the benefits of being an employee, working with someone else, is that when you change your environment, you automatically change your behavior. You don't act the same way when you're a guest in someone else's house than when someone is a guest at your house. You act inherently naturally different. So we literally change environments as a means of changing ourselves. It's an easy hack to be able to do that. It's a lot easier to focus and get the job done when you're sitting in a row of cubicles. That is far more acceptable behavior to the brain. The brain says, this is where I'm at. This is how I'm supposed to be. This is the way I'm supposed to talk. This is the way I'm supposed to act. And that's basically, in some ways, a crutch. So being able to work at home means that you now need to be able to shift yourself without shifting your environment. How do you change how you are without changing the space around you? Well, I'm going to cover a couple different things that I've done and tools that I've used to help with this, especially because, for me, working from home wasn't just a necessity for loving being with my kids. It's because I was a very volatile individual. I was diagnosed in 2004 as bipolar with PTSD. I've witnessed some tragic deaths as a child and some suicide, actually, since that's on the topic. And I've helped, it's one of my passion projects is to help others out of suicidalism. I'm working actually with a number of PhD doctors on a theory of mine that inflammation has a direct correlation to suicidal tendencies. So as inflammation rises in our body, that it's natural that our bodies are going to think about the concept of suicide. And why is that? Because at the end of the day, there's a thing called cellular apoptosis. It's called cell suicide. It's when a cell gets damaged and that cell says, hey, you know what, I'm damaged. I don't want to replicate. It's not good for me to replicate in the world because I might make some mistakes. And so the cell says, I'm going to kill myself for the good of the larger organism. So reason with me. If that's a known concept at the cellular level, that intelligence can exist, then why wouldn't that concept spill up into our higher psyche? It's absolutely reasonable that it should. So I'm doing a 5-year study to document and correlate inflammation with suicidal tendencies. If you know anybody, this is a passion project of mine. If you know anybody who's willing to assist and help in that, feel free to reach out to me. But that does absolutely apply to us working at home. Because when you're at home, and this is your environment, and this is all you have to work with, then we've lost the ability to change how we act and how we feel and how we're perceived. Roland mentioned that he gets up, he takes a shower, he gets dressed. Those are the things that allow him to shift himself without shifting his environment. He is consciously making a decision to do something within the framework of what he has to work with to create a different result, a different mindset, a different way of being. And so that's the first trick that first concept I want you to embody and to get from this presentation today is the concept of mental segmentation. So segmentation is when you have two different parts. In marketing, we talk about list segmentation, segmenting different parts of our email list. In business, we talk about different segments of our business, different niches. But mental segmentation is our ability to segment the different aspects of our life. So when you're at home, can you segment when you are in the role of being the boss to others and being director? Are you, and even in the world of your business, right? We wear so many hats as entrepreneurs. We've got the business owner hat, the entrepreneur hat, the marketer hat, the support hat, the innovator hat. We have all these different hats that we have to wear working, being our own boss. And so even when we step into the world of okay, I'm in business mode now, we still have these little segments. And so being able to shift mentally our mindset and how we are, our very way of being, is an actual skill. It's just that we've all gotten really lazy because we can use environments, we can use other people, we use other things to change that for us. And so now we are forced to do with it ourselves. And so understanding the concept of mental segmentation and identifying how you can do this inside yourself, and identify when you switch from the accountant hat to the marketer hat, to the salesman hat, to the boss hat inside your business, in that same way, stepping out of your business role and stepping into the dad role. And in my dad role, which dad am I needed to be right now? Do I need to be the fun, silly dad? Do I need to be the dad that is empathetic and hearing them and just passive and listening, being a receptive and allowing them to just flow? Am I the dad that needs to provide advice? When I step into my husband role, is this the time to be a friend to her? Is this the time to be an ally to her and call out something in her behavior that I think she's not seeing herself? And so, and how do I do that, right? How do I call out something in my wife? And how do I say that? Inside our home, we have all of these roles in one place. And so practicing the art of mental segmentation and moving our mind into these different roles allows us to fulfill that role in a much richer way. So that way we can love that moment, because as an entrepreneur working from home, one of the most challenging things is to be stuck in this stretch, right? Where it's like, you know, right now you need to be here and doing this, but yet your family's calling you here, or this is calling you here, or yeah, you really do want to watch that episode of Netflix, right? You really do want to just Netflix binge for the moment. You have these different poles. And all these people, they think of, you know, they talk about wanting to be their own boss. And when most people say they want to be their own boss, what they're really saying is they don't want to work. They want freedom. They want to do what they want to do. And they have this picture of somebody working poolside. Do you know how hard it is to work poolside when your family's swimming in the pool? To stay focused, stay in your lane, that is mental segmentation. Being able to keep these blinders up. So that way when a squirrel runs by, you're not just squirrel, you know, just, it doesn't have the power over you. The density of the segmentation between your roles, between your mind in there is so strong that while the squirrel is in your field of awareness, it has no power to pierce the veil between these roles. The segmentation is so strong, the density is so dense that it can't pierce it without your conscious decision to. And in the same way, I as a parent can be sitting there in a room with kids just absolutely running around, being crazy. They're bouncing on bouncy balls. They've got skateboards. They're doing everything. And I want to go join them and I want to go skate. So in that same way, and yes, we skateboard as a family. I love it. It's one of the greatest blessings of being a father is to have children who I can skateboard with, and my wife who skateboards with me too. So yeah, I want to go with them. And so being able to stay in my space, but still be aware of and hear their voices and hear their cries, right? Hear the difference between the cry that's happening from antagonism or the laughter cry. They're literally laughing so hard they're crying versus the cry that means I'm hurt, right? And so that way, the back of my brain, I can trust it to be hearing all of this information. It's not that I'm unaware. I don't have headphones on and I'm not so glued in. My mental segmentation has become so strong that I can be in the presence of chaos and thrive, stay absolutely focused and glued into what I need to be doing in that moment by my will, by my choice. So I shouldn't even say need, what I choose to be doing. Because being your own boss means that you do what you choose. You don't just do things you need to. You do what you choose to do. And when you choose to do that and you do it fully, richly, then you're no longer stretched by being here but not really being there, or your family says you're here but you're not present, right? I mean, all these roles and realities start blurring together into just one, you know, soup, as opposed to having a meal with all these different flavors and all these different components. If someone just took your meal and they just threw it all in a blender, would you love it? No. A great meal would be ruined by mixing all the flavors together. The meal becomes great because of the segmentation, the different flavors. So your ability to go into these things is paramount. And you can develop this skill. And seeing it as a skill is probably the best way, because to be in a situation where you're growing in that ability, instead of beating up on yourself that, oh no, I got distracted, right? If your inner critic is saying, oh no, I suck because I got distracted, what kind of spell are you casting on yourself? Versus you got distracted and you wonder, well, I wonder what was it about that had the power to pierce this, because I'm badass, I'm rad, my focus is strong. So what was it about that particular thing that got through my barrier? What got through my gate? How did it get through my gate? What does that tell me about myself? That internal dialogue. That's what's great about Byron Katie's work, which I highly recommend. Thank you for bringing that up, Michelle. That changed my wife and I's relationships decades ago when we got to go see her speak live and do the work with her. And, so moving out of that, moving into the spirit of inquiry, so when something distracts you or something pulls you or you're doing something that you don't want to do, in that moment, that's when inquiry comes in, to get back to that place to where you are in absolute ownership and control of yourself, so you can truly be your own boss and love being your own boss. And so what is that key? What is that key to love being your own boss and to love life at home? The simple key is this: to boss your own being with love. The combination of sternness, but compassion and consideration and empathy that comes with true love, that comes with loving who you are and how you are unfolding. And so recognizing these weaknesses that you're having, that's just simply the outworkings of an unevolved yet evolving self. So keep evolving, keep growing, keep loving each and every little distraction that comes in, because that brought you a new little nugget. When fear comes in, even the fear of suicide, even if that comes in, even those hard, heavy things, you can make them light and easy when you bring that spirit of inquiry and you look at it in a loving way and say, what is it about this? I know for my own self that any moment that I've struggled with suicide, it's because I now know it's because that means that it's a trigger for my body to tell me that I need healing. It's time for me to fill my cup, because my body is hurting. My pain threshold has reached such a high threshold that, yeah, my body just said, done. I'm done. I'm cooked. So it's natural at that point. And so to fear the thought, to have that, no, I don't fear that. Fear has a seat at my table because fear becomes my ally. Just like distractions could be your enemy at working from home, you might see your kids or this or that as distractions. They are your allies to your more powerful self showing up and becoming into reality, because you have these blessings to challenge you at a higher level, calling you out to do the things that you might not normally ever do yourself because you didn't have to. And so that art, that skill of mental segmentation, finding this and doing that inquiry work is powerful. And I'd like to give you one other quick little tip before we go, because I see that time is getting away. In case you can't tell, I just love what I do. One of the most important things you can do to create mental segmentation is I use markers. I will literally take paintings down off the wall and I'll go put a different painting up. I will change my clothes. I will do different things like that. I use essential oils. I have different scents and smells associated to different states of focus. When I'm doing copywriting, I have an oil specifically for my copywriting. I have an oil specifically for when I'm doing graphic design. I have an oil for when I'm narrating audiobooks and I'm narrating commercials and I'm doing voice work and I'm doing that projection. I have specific essential oils for that. So I'm using my different senses as tools to create change. So yeah, I may not be able to change the environment entirely because I'm still in my home, but I can change elements within that environment. That is in my control. So using, some of those little hacks, like using essential oils, changing pictures on your wall, changing some of those things. Another key thing is to use an egg timer or a digital clock. Go get a digital clock or an egg timer. I'm not joking, an egg timer, a manual one that goes, because what you can do is you get in these work stints where you can tell your wife and kids, hey guys, I'm going to go into a little work sprint here. I'm going to be in this zone until this this timer's done. If this timer's going, you can come to me if it's an emergency. If you need something, great. And then that way they know, they have a visual reminder. So that way the kid isn't running up every 5 minutes saying, Dad, are you done yet? Dad, are you done yet? Dad, are you done yet? they have the clock right there. And if they do come up, I can just point to the clock. I stay focused. My mental segmentation is so strong that I can move my hand and point to a clock without losing my focus. And so, but they have that tool, so they can see that. And then that way, they become your allies. They also respect and revere the fact that you have this focus, and they don't feel like you shorted them. You're not shorting them, because when you're done with that moment of work, you can now set that aside, mentally segment your business self, and show up as yourself, as the father, as the dad, as the fun guy, whatever you choose to be in that moment. And with that, when you are done, do a debrief with your family. Do a debrief with yourself to say, what did I do during this work stint? What could I have done better? Hey, I got this done. I wish I could have done more of that. I like this. I like that. Here's some more of this. When you do this debrief with yourself, you are becoming the best boss you never had. And in that way, if you do this debrief with your family and just come out and just give them a quick little highlight, say, hey, yeah, I love this. I got this done. You know, I actually kind of struggled with this. That vulnerability shows them the things that they might not normally ever see you going through. And in that way, they can become your true assistants. So you're not alone. Your family is not a distraction. They have the power. Anything has the power to be a distraction. It also has the power to be your great ally in this world. Choose what you want to make of it. Thanks again to Jim. Thanks again to Dawn and everyone else for coming out and sharing these messages. I obviously enjoyed the chance to be here with you. And I encourage you to love being your own boss by bossing your own being around with love. Get yourself to do the things you wouldn't normally do. Do it with a good attitude. And when you're done, look back and ask yourself what you could have done better and celebrate the things you did great.